Today I'm sharing an oxtail stew recipe with you guys. Let's get it. For today's video, I thought it was so fitting to share with you guys a recipe that I stumbled upon from a fellow YouTuber named Chef Jess. We met on Instagram a few weeks ago. I followed her cooking page, and maybe about 4 days ago or so, she shared, or I found, the post where she shared a recipe for oxtail stew. It is the middle of winter. It is so cold here in Texas, and it is like the perfect cozy recipe. Make sure you find her on YouTube and subscribe, and find her on Instagram and follow her. We start by washing our oxtail. We wash them in cold water and apple cider vinegar. While you let your oxtail sit in the vinegar and water, you want to go ahead and prep all of your spices and your vegetables. I won't be going over measurements. You'll have to go over to Jess's page and follow her recipe. Place the oxtail in a bowl and get ready for seasoning. Before you season up your oxtail, go ahead and start the base of the recipe, which is the stew itself. So I use beef broth, 32 ounces. Go ahead and pour that into a pot. Make sure that you have your heat on medium, because you do want your broth to start to simmer while you are seasoning up your oxtails. After I add my broth, I also decided to add another 32 ounces or so of water. Now it's time to season those oxtails. To season the oxtails, you're going to use browning sauce. You're also going to use a Worcestershire. I think that's how you say it. Y'all don't judge me. That sauce, and you also want to use your brown sugar. You also want to go ahead and add your salt and pepper to the oxtail. You're going to massage all of that into the oxtails. This is how the oxtail look once you massage all of that seasoning in. Don't they already look good, y'all? Next, you want to heat up a large skillet and add olive oil. While that skillet heats up with that oil, you want to go ahead and add all of your vegetables and seasonings to your simmering broth. Now we are going to take the seasoned oxtail and begin to add them to that hot oil and go ahead and brown them. This should take about 8 minutes on each side. This recipe really reminds me of the brown stew chicken that I make, the Jamaican dish. Really simple and really delicious. Once the oxtails have browned around all of the sides, you want to go ahead and start adding them into the broth. I did have a few oxtails left over that hadn't cooked yet, so I'm adding the cooked ones to the broth, and then I'm going to go ahead and cook up the smaller ones and add those as well. Here are the veggies and the beans that I'm going to use. The recipe calls for butter beans, but I didn't have any. Okay, now clearly my pot is too small. I need to get me a bigger stewing pot, but back to the veggies. You want to add your fresh veggies at the end per Jess, because this stew is going to go for about 3 hours, and so you don't want to overcook your vegetables. Now I'm going to go ahead and make my gravy, my oxtail gravy. I use a stick and a half of butter, and then I pour in my flour, cup and a half of flour, mix that up. We're also going to add the leftover marinade sauce from the oxtails into this, and then we're going to pour this into the stew to thicken it up. Now, my pot was a little too small, but I did allow everything to cook down, and then I was able to better add my vegetables. I did decide not to go with the broccoli that I wanted to add. Jess's recipe calls for corn on the cob or kernels. I opted away from that, and I opted for broccoli because my girls love broccoli, but at the end of the day, my pot was just too small, even once the stew cooked down, and so we just stuck with the green beans, which were fine as well. I poured the gravy into the stew, and you can already see that broth starting to thicken up. Look, okay, the pot is too small, okay? But sometimes you got to make it do what it do. Move those oxtails around, get those vegetables to the top, get the oxtails to the bottom, whatever you got to do, okay? We just, like I said, make it do what it do. Now that the stew has cooked down a bit, I decided to go ahead and add my green beans. Y'all, I'm cracking up at how small this pot is for this recipe. I am really tripping. I also made my white rice on the side. If you kind of see over there in the corner, it's cooking. Okay, I promise after this, I won't add another thing to this recipe. But look at those kidney beans. Don't they look so vibrant and just like so inviting? I cannot wait to eat. Here is the final product, y'all. Look how tender and juicy those oxtails are. This recipe was so good. I decided to share with Serenity, and this baby was yelling at me for her next bite. Like, she was not playing with me. If nobody will tell you the truth about a recipe, a baby will for sure tell you the truth. And yeah, she wasn't playing. Yummy. Even my toddler Maya was not playing around with this recipe. Y'all see the bone in that oxtail? She was not playing, okay? Do you hear me? I hope that you guys enjoyed this video today. I hope that you will try this recipe out yourself and come back and let me know what you thought. Make sure to go follow Chef Jess on Instagram, and make sure you follow her here on YouTube as well. If you're new here, thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video, and I hope that you will subscribe to my channel. If you are already a subscriber, hey girl, hey boy, hey, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.